Hello Supercoaches, the teams are in for round 21. Absolute carnage for Supercoaches this week. I feel like it's been a pretty easy year for Supercoach until the last few weeks. We've had some real tough teams days. Jett Hatton is back after a little hiatus last week. How are you shaping up after this teams day?
Yeah, mate, I've definitely been hit by, guys like Keaon Koloamatangi, Tino, those sort of players. So, yeah, it does hurt, but we're going all right. Enough trades left to sort it all out.
Also?
Oh, my team's going terribly at the moment. I was sick and had to move last week. I didn't check the app for a few days and accidentally left the captaincy on Jett Tedesco, which did not go well. And, yeah, obviously been hit by the injuries as well.
Well, I had the captaincy on Tedesco, but I deliberately chose to do it, even though I could have gone with Dylan Edwards. So hovering around that 6,000 mark. Just can't seem to get out of the 6,000s. Big team takeaways from this week. Lots of injuries. What's your number one?
For me, it's just no sign of Ryan Papenhuyzen. The last few weeks we've sort of been, what is it, a calf strain? He came out and said it was last week, but we thought he might be back this week, but he's not. So for me, it's a big takeaway.
Yep.
For me, it's Hamole Olaquatu back. I think he's just the perfect replacement for anyone who has Keaon Koloamatangi or Tino out. So if you need a replacement, he's just the logical choice.
For me, it's Cameron Munster, unfortunately out this week. He's going to attend the funeral of his father, so out this week. So I'm going to need to find some backup there because my backup at the moment is Like King Tongia. So I'm thinking I could take a flyer on Lachlan Galvin as a little bit of a pod.
Not too bad. Well, I mean, he looked pretty good last week. It was his first game starting at halfback for them. And their attack was clicking, so I don't hate it.
And completely burned my Dragons at the death too. So maybe it's just me trying to make amends for that in my mind. On to first team of the week. So the Roosters have got Sandon Smith. He's back into that team. So a week after we were told he's leaving the club, he's completely on the outer. He is now back into that squad. Savala is also back, but he's on the extended bench. Some interesting decisions happening here at the Roosters.
Yeah, you'd think there is a chance that Savala comes in and replaces Sandon, and then he goes to the 14, maybe 18th man. Poor old Chad, booted straight away after 1 week. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sandon got knocked out of that starting position with Savala.
Of course, no Billy Smith. He's out through a concussion, so popular sell. Makes sense. He's done his work for Supercoach. The more contentious one there is James Tedesco, 7th most sold player. I guess you could call it a poor game on the weekend, but they're very few and far between for Tedesco. Toughish matchup against the Storm, and we know that when the Storm get beaten, they always bounce back. I still think it's a big risk to be selling James Tedesco. He's a star of Supercoach. You can bank on him most weeks. The run for the next month isn't sensational, but I just can't bring myself to sell Teddy, particularly with trades getting pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, down week for him last week, but he is extremely consistent. I think this is people just seeing how big Dylan Edwards went last week and how poor Teddy went and being like, oh, I'll make that jump. But I personally, unless you're flush with trades, I would be just sticking with him.
Yeah, I think it's chasing last week's points. People just flocking straight to Dylan Edwards from Tedesco. I don't think he played too bad last week, even though he based really poorly and got that try. But I wouldn't be selling him. As a non-owner, I hope people sell him, so please do if you want.
Yep, I'll be holding for sure. Nawaqanitawase is also a popular sell, so 2 30s in a row. I can kind of see why people are doing it. Is Sam Walker biting into him? A lot of players going through Walker, which could be taking away from Nawaqanitawase.
Yeah, I actually sold Mark last week just because I prefer him at centre a lot more than on the wing. And Sam Walker, every time you got the ball on that left-hand side, they were just doing something. So they decided to go that way a lot more rather than Chad Townsend's way, which makes sense. But if Sandon Smith is in there, maybe they do go back to that side. But at this stage, I'd be selling Mark as well with that high break-even that he's got.
Yeah, I agree. And while I would be keeping Teddy, even though they do have a bit of a rough run, I would be selling Marky Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Marky Mark, but I've also got Koloamatangi and Fa'asuamaleaui, so they'll be going first, and I'll be holding Nawaqanitawase. Gee, that was a pretty big handful. And I might be bringing in Olaquatu into that team. So, four most complicated names in rugby league to pronounce. The Storm, as I mentioned, Cameron Munster is not there. Should only be 1 week. Definite hold. Don't go selling him. I think he is the primo guy. at 5'8" to finish the season. Unfortunately, not there this week. So if you've got someone like King Tongia, like I do, you might need to replace King Tongia instead of replacing Munster.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, me too. There's plenty of options there as well, which makes it fun. So yeah.
And no Pappenhausen, that calf, the calf tightness has
He
suddenly lasted a month.
He came out and said it was a strain. He said, I wish the Storm actually called it what it was. So that's how, at least we know that it is something that's bothering him.
Perhaps he's had some sort of setback along the way there. Who knows? In any case, as soon as I saw calf tightness, I sold him. And I'm pretty happy that I did, because things can linger on with Pappenhausen, which is definitely what's happened here. Cowboys v the Dragons, so Talangi's out for them, Burns to the wing. Interesting to see that Duffy comes in at 5'8", which means Purdue, our guy, goes to centre, which is a much better position for him for Supercoach.
Yep, and it's good for Drinkwater as well. Drinkwater seems to play a lot better when Purdue's in the centres, and it just gives him that extra attacking option for try assist, line break assist, that sort of stuff. So if you do own Purdue still, you'd be happy that he's back in the centres.
Yeah, definitely.
Onto the Dragons, obviously Val Holmes out. That happened, it was officially announced after lockout last week when he was the 6th most purchased player. So hopefully you've got some early mail on that. Finau comes in, and they've lost Finau as well, who got what looked like a really painful dislocated shoulder on the weekend. King Tongia is a popular sell. I think he is finding first grade pretty tough at this point of the season. It's been a big year for him. Started out really well, but with all the injuries at the Dragons and the way that the team's going, I think he does have to go.
Yeah, I think it's probably a lot of people that are in a similar boat to you, like lots of Munster owners who might be scrambling to find someone and want to stick with Munster, but move on from King Tongia.
Broncos, they got Payne Haas back. So we were speaking just before that the top purchases this week are Payne Haas and Nathan Cleary. Wilson and I have held both of those guys through the bye period, but you haven't. Will you be bringing both of those guys back in?
Well, I never had Payne Haas, so...
Yeah, well, that's... sorry.
So I'll be bringing Payne in for the first time this year. He's going straight from Koloamatangi to him. I was thinking about going to Nathan Cleary, but I really like the look of Sam Walker last week, so I reckon I'm going to go him instead of Cleary, just fade the pack. But I can't not have Payne in my team.
Pat Carrigan, very popular as well. Doesn't have the big attacking upside of these other back rows that people are bringing in, like Hudson Young, for example. Aloka Atu, for some reason, is not even in the top 15 most purchased players. I think he'll be pretty close to the top by the end of the week. Both those guys have big attacking upside. Pat Carrigan doesn't. So is he a genuine option to bring in?
I think it really depends on how much money you have. Obviously, with Tino and Keaon Koloamatangi out, you're going to have to move them on, and that will generate some cash. So I think if you can afford to bring in someone like Ola Guata, I'd go that. But Pat Carrigan, I think, is a decent budget-ish alternative if you can't afford one of those guys. And is obviously doesn't have the big attacking upside, but he is pretty consistent. So I think if you need a more budget alternative, he's an option. Otherwise, there's other guys I would go.
Yeah, you've got a nice little downgrade option of the Broncos too. You've got Brendan Piakura there on the edge. He obviously is low in price after he copped a pretty bad knockout against the Titans a few weeks ago, but he's going to, get that sort of 60 to 80 score with the soft run they got coming up. So he's a lot cheaper than Carrigan and Haas, so I don't mind it as a downgrade option.
Just a little one to point out with the Broncos, with the injuries this week, Karapani, get him in your 17 against the Eels. I think you basically are given that he should score a try this round. On to the Eels. So Isaiah Yongi ruled out for a month with a broken hand. That means that Joash Papali'i goes to fullback. Dean Hawkins comes in at 5'8", so Dylan Brown can't get a look in. It's clearly a big FU to him. But they also have Mitchell Moses back, which, while he's not a guy to touch for Supercoach, could really improve a guy like Zach Lomax, who's the guy I will be bringing in for either Tino or Keaon this week.
Yeah, well, I think at the start of the year it took Lomax until Mitch Moses returned to actually score a try. So Mitch's kicking game so elite. Lomax is one of those aerial targets, and you saw last year at the Dragons, Lomax's points, a lot of them were just off the back of Ben Hunt and his kicks, so it's only going to level up Lomax.
Yeah, I wasn't really considering Lomax until I saw that Mitch Moses was back, and now that he is back, he's someone that I would be taking a second look at for sure.
Yeah, I think he's completely elite this year, and it depends whether you've got the dual position flexibility with someone like Beau Fermor or Keaon Bradley, for example. But for me, I think when you're looking to replace Tino or Keaon, you just look for the gun that you don't already own, and it happens that I don't own Lomax yet, so I think he's the best replacement for my team personally. Warriors v the Titans. They got CNK back there at the Warriors. At the Titans, Tino out for a month, so he is a sell out for a month. Unless you're really short on trades, he must go. Who would he go for?
Who would you bring in?
Yeah, who do you think?
I think just Olokwatu is the premium option. Like he's fairly consistent, but has the attacking upside that just other guys at the position don't have. I like Hudson Young as well. I brought him in last week, but I think they're both good options.
Yeah, there's quite a few of options. You've got Angus Crichton there as well. The Roosters. Payne obviously is the main one. Yeah, there's a lot of options. I think I'm going to hold Tino just because I've got a lot of other fires to put out at the moment, and I can sort of cover him there in that front row position, having such a deep team. So I think I might just hold Tino and maybe it'll be a little pod at the end of the year when no one's got any trades.
One thing about Olokwatu while we're talking about him is that I really like that Tom Trbojevic is now playing in that right centre role. So Trbojevic is going to take so much of the defence up, and I can just see Olokwatu sneaking in for a bunch of tries while everyone concentrates on Tommy T. So I like it, but having said that, I'm going to go with Lomax ahead of him. But I do like him as a purchase, and he needs to be in the top 5 most purchased players easily this week, and he's around 15th at the moment. So I see that's going to change.
I think now that everyone has seen that he's back, that will definitely change.
Panthers v the Tigers, so they got Cleary and Yeo back. Will Cleary kick goals? We don't know yet. We will be chasing that. If he doesn't kick goals, then Dylan Edwards kicks goals. Plus he makes 28 runs per game, busts 15 tackles per game, coming off that 170 odd on the weekend. He is the most purchased player this week. He's got a great run. The next 3 weeks or so are basically against the best matchups that you can get in Supercoach.
Yeah, I know we were saying that everyone's just chasing his points from last week before, but I do think he is a good buy despite that, and it is another good matchup this week. And I think if I had to take a punt, I would guess that Cleary will not be kicking. So Edwards is a great captaincy option again.
Yep, I've got the C on him right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a great buy. I just can't buy him because I've got 3 gun fullbacks at the moment that I don't want to move on. But yeah, he scares the living daylight out of me. So yeah.
On to the Rabbitohs v the Sharkies. So as we mentioned, Keaon Koloamatangi out for the season, so he's a sell for Supercoach. Good to see Jai Gray back into the team, and I don't want to give away too much in my draft league, but he's not particularly well owned in draft. If you can pick him up on the waiver wire, could be a handy little purchase.
Yeah, I know at this point of the year, fullback depth is at an all-time low, so if I would assume that Jai Gray is available in most leagues, so if you need a fullback, he's a great option.
Yeah, hopefully the people in my draft league are not watching this show because I've had a big nibble at him. What are your thoughts?
Feels like an age ago when Jai Gray was leading the Dally M.
Yeah.
He started off the season so good and then he got injured, obviously. So, yeah, he's a great Supercoach player and he's a great footy player. So, yeah, he isn't a purchase for Classic, but definitely a draft. Yeah.
Onto the Sharkies. So, Raymond's back. The guy that we have to point out is Blayke Brailey. So after everyone brought in Harry Grant or Connor Watson or whoever it is, Blayke Brailey has just gone an absolute tear. 5-round average of 95. You must be loving, as a Sharks fan, what he's doing. I feel like they've completely changed their game plan, and he is now the number one guy in that attack. It used to be that they'd go through Tino or Trindle, and there was always this contest between, is Trindle running the team, is Nicho Hynes running the team? Well, we know our answer now. It's neither of them. It's Blayke Brailey.
Yeah, well, for those who listen to this show, they might have jumped on him with me maybe 12 weeks ago or something.
12 weeks, yeah.
And,
you're ahead of the curve on that one,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, Blayke Brailey, I just think he's the best dummy half in rugby league at the moment, just the way he's playing. The Fitzy's obviously instilled a lot of confidence into him to run the ball whenever he wants. It used to be he'd only run when markers are not square and he'd just try and get a 6 again and he'd pass it on, but he's running it so many times, and Nicho, those type of guys, they're supporting him, so he's getting a lot of attacking stats off that. 5-round average of 95, it just speaks for itself. 117 on the weekend. He plays 80 minutes every week. I don't think he's ever got injured in his life. So, he's durable. I know Wilson's thinking of bringing him in after having a bit of buyer's remorse on Harry Grant last week. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, like you said, I brought in Harry Grant last week, and he's obviously not as consistent this year as he has been in past years. And Blayke Brailey, for some reason, despite you telling me how good he is and looking at the numbers and being impressed, I've just ignored him. And now I've definitely got buyer's remorse. So I think I actually can, if I opt not to go with Olukwatu, I can move McInnes down to the back row and bring in Brailey. Yeah. And then just run with Brailey and Harry Grant for the run home. But I feel like that's maybe a bit overkill.
It's exactly what I was going to point out. You've got guys like McInnes or Kalani going, who's got the perfect swing, or Connor Watson has got the great positional swing, where you can sell Keaon or Tino for Blayke Brailey. So it's a genuine option, but yeah, I don't want to go too hard at hooker this year. I prefer to stack the CT dub than to stack hooker. But he is a good option. On to the Raiders v the Knights. So Seb Chris out through concussion. Hudson Young, you said you bought him in last week. I deliberately avoided him because he is carrying that groin issue, the osteitis pubis, and I'm going to take him on for the rest of the year. I'm not going to go there. I'm thinking that he's done his best work in Supercoach so far this season. Having said that, didn't get any attacking stats on the weekend, still got 60-odd points.
Yeah, obviously the upside wasn't there last week, but still banged out. I think it was 68, so still fairly good score, and he does have that attacking upside. So I think despite the Knights' defence actually not being too terrible, I think this is a good matchup for him. And yeah, I still like him as a buy, especially if you're getting rid of Tino or Keaon.
Yeah, I love having Hudson Young in my team. As a punter, I always bet on him to score tries when they're at GIO Stadium because he just always seems to get over with one of those kicks or something. So those attacking stats are going to come. They got such a nice run for the rest of the way home. So I think there won't be a world where I can see him losing more than one game, and I think they're going to score a lot of points in doing so. So he's a massive, massive buy.
They're playing the Knights. Obviously, they're extremely depleted right now, and a lot of people are only just getting around to selling Dylan Lucas. So if you've copped Lucas on top of Keaon and Tino and et cetera, it's not looking great this week. On to the Doggies with the Sea Eagles. So at the Doggies, we've lost that cheapie. So Rinakama was the 8th most purchased player and by far the most popular cheapie. Not in the 17. So Bronson Sherry's back, which means Tuala to the wing, and Rinakama's out. I really wish that Rinakama had come along earlier in the season because he would be one of the best cheapies we've seen this year. But at this time of the year, there's no point going there.
Yeah, he's looked awesome in real life NRL, but like you said, it's just a bit late in the season and we don't really need cheapies at the moment.
He's going to start at 450 next year instead of 198, which is annoying.
It's annoying when gun cheapies come along at the end of the year and it just pushes up their price for next year. Obviously it's a bit of a blow, and everyone who was thinking of bringing him in has obviously just got to reverse that trade.
Yeah, one of the great rugby league names, all I'll add. Jethro.
Anyone called Jethro. It has to be.
I wish I was called Jethro instead of Jet.
Lachlan Galvin, 440 odd K. I think he's a really good purchase. I talked him up last week. That's really cheap for him. He's a 600k player in Supercoach realistically. I won't play him every week. I've got Munster there in that position, so I'll just play him on matchups. I'll certainly play him this weekend, given that I need a 5'8". Produce that play right on the bell to down my Dragons over the weekend. The thing is, he makes lots of errors. He doesn't, he's not a smart player yet. He's just all instinct. But that's good for Supercoach. He takes so many risks that he's always going to get attacking stats.
Yeah, like you said, he is only 440k, so he's a decent budget alternative as well. And Manly obviously beat Melbourne Storm last week, but they have just been inconsistent all year. So, maybe big upset last week. Maybe we struggle against the Bulldogs this week. And I think he's a decent buy if you need a budget 5'8".
Yeah, as I said earlier, there's a few good options at 5'8". I think Galvin's maybe a rung below what he was at the Tigers from a Supercoach perspective, just because there's so many different options there and they seem to spread the ball so well. I wouldn't mind a guy like AJ Brimson at 5'8" if you're looking for someone, but he's a bit more expensive than Galvin. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Galvin is he's your backup 5'8".
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
considering him as your top 5'8", don't do it.
Yeah.
But you can get from like in King Tonga up to him for less than 100. I think it's 90k this
Okay.
week, which is pretty solid. Sea Eagles, any love for Turbo? So the 3-round average is 91. He's roaming around absolutely everywhere. It's basically similar output to what he does at fullback, but only available at fullback for Supercoach.
yeah, I'm a happy owner of Tom Trbojevic. I've had him
Nice.
for a few weeks now, so he's looked great, even though he's playing centre. He gets so many more attacking opportunities in the role that he's playing at the moment, and he gets the try scoring on the right, and then when he sweeps, he gets it on the left too. So I love Turbo, and he's only going to keep getting better.
I wish I could have him, but I've just got 3 other fullbacks at the moment. If he was available at centre wing this year, I would jump on 100%, but I just can't make it happen.
Yeah, he just missed out for that final round of positional updates. But given the fact that he's played, what is it, maybe 4-5 games at centre this year, he's guaranteed to get it for next year. So round 1, 2026,
Being 100%.
Lock him in.
Tom Trbojevic at what is basically a bargain price for him will be locked in.
Yeah. He'll be the most
guaranteed.
player for sure.
And the bye, obviously you got the Dolphins on the bye, so no Herbie Farnworth
Thank God.
this week. Do you not own Herbs? Oh, the amount of pods you get somehow squeeze into your team.
Yeah, I got a lot. I got quite a few in there. Sione Katoa's the latest. I obviously haven't said that, but yeah, the Friday night Shark Park, I brought him in. Didn't score very well, but he will this week.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Big thanks to Wilso. Big thanks to Jett. We'll catch you on Thursday for the preview podcast. See you then.